So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another IATEFL Live. It is now just 1 week until the conference. In fact, this time next week, we'll be well into the pre-conference events and Associate Day. So this is the last IATEFL Live before the Belfast conference. And in order to celebrate we've got a group of people together, and we're going to talk about conference. What we are going to talk about is how to get yourself ready for conference. What kind of tips can we share? Can we give you things that might help your conference experience when you arrive in Belfast next week? As I was saying just before we went live, I think my first conference about 15, 16 years ago, and the one thing that I never really imagined was how big a conference is. And somebody needed to tell me it's a really big conference. So I think hopefully we'll pass on your tips. We'll pass on some tips to you today. And if you're watching this live and you've got any questions you want to ask us, or if you've got any comments you want to feed in, any tips that you could give us, then feel free to put them in the comments box, either on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, and I'll try and put them through the broadcast as we go along. So you can see that the usual two are here. You can see me, you can see John, but we are with guests today. So let's get our guests introduced. Let's begin with Maria. Maria, who are you, and who are you, and why are you here?
Well, I'm here because I'm passionate about IATEFL, so that by association means that I am an English language teacher, and B, kind of involved with IATEFL, and yes, I am on the membership committee. And so I'm used to having my name written under a screen and people from IATEFL coming in and saying hello to the planet Earth. So, other than that, my more gainful employment is that I teach English at secondary level schools and also at tertiary level in a tertiary level institution. And I love the world of EFL.
You certainly do. I've been lucky enough to know you for several years. You said you're a membership committee. Of course, we used to be together on digital committee. And if you're watching this, you might recognize Maria's face, because, as she said, she's offered on the screen bringing webinars to you. And she, in previous years, has been an integral part of the interview team on the ground at the conference. Sadly, not this year though. So this is the closest we get for this conference, Maria. And underneath me, in my picture, anyway, we've got Ayman. Ayman, who are you? And can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here. Like Maria, I'm also passionate about ELT as well as IATEFL. My name is Ayman Sheikh. I'm originally from Sudan, and I'm based in Doha, Qatar. I work as an instructional assistant professor at Texas A&M University at Qatar. Also a past president of Africa ELTA. ELTA stands for English Language Teachers Association. I love IATEFL. The first conference I attended was back in 2010, and it's the reason that I'm here in Qatar, and I will get into more details later when we talk about job fair.
Oh, that is intriguing to know. And I will see you next week, because you are at a conference. I think if I remember reading the program, I see you there. See you at the conference. Okay, so before we went live, we had a look at some areas that we want to talk about to give some sort of structure to this, and we thought we'd start at the beginning. And the obvious thing to start with then is the conference program and pre-conference. We are a week out from conference, as I said. So, and I think this is the point where you should have already been through the program once. The program is available to download for it. So let's talk about the program and what people can do with that program, how the program works, some tips people can give. If you have access to the program, you'll know it's I think downloadable about 106 pages as a PDF. So it is a weighty document. So who wants to go first? Who's got any advice about the conference program, about the planner, anything they should do? John, actually, you've got some good advice. Shall I bring you in first on this?
Absolutely. The one thing I can do is say I've also got a proper conference program that will actually get and actually that's probably the starting point here, just to say that this is slightly different from the online one. So go to the IATEFL website, click on the conference, and you can download the program straight away, and that's the full program. The difference between that and the one you'll receive as a delegate when you arrive in Belfast is that the digital program also includes the abstracts for each of the sessions. And because there's such a lot of choice, so many sessions over 4 days, it is, as Sean said, such a good idea to go through it before. Plan what you would like to see, what's of interest to you. Each of the sessions has little tabs next to it to show what area of English language teaching it deals with and what kind of session it is. And then near the back, both for the online one and this one, you've actually got a little schedule, so you can actually write down the things that you want to see so you don't miss out. So the first port of call, I think, is looking at that conference program online, planning your 4 days or however long you're at the conference. And then when you get to your paper version of the conference, as I said, the only difference is it doesn't have the abstracts. And the reason we've done that is it makes it a much more lighter, more manageable document to carry around with you, but nonetheless it has the information about every single session in it.
So just to recap then, John, so basically everybody should download, if you're coming to conference, you should download the PDF, because that's where you'll find. I think
that's a good idea. You can either download it as a PDF, or you can just click on it and view it as a page, a turnable book, digital book online. Choose however you want to access that. But yeah, do it beforehand. I think it's a great idea.
The program, I always get excited by the program, and then I get lost. Is that your feelings, Ayman, Maria? How do you handle the program?
Okay, first of all, the program has a very important role to play throughout the conference for people who do different things. So you might be a student who is coming to, you might be an MA student. Okay, you have your background, but you also have something, some areas of concern that are in your mind. So you have to attend things that are related with your current studies, things that are related with your main areas of work, some things that might be in your horizon. So you may have 3 or 4 or 5 areas. For me, I mean, whenever Sean asked me which sessions are of interest to you so that we can schedule interviews, I told him, forget it, it's a madhouse. I do a lot of different things in ELT, so I cannot specifically categorize it. But there is a thing called balance. We teachers know that because that's what we do with our IP patterns. Check your lesson plan, check your IP pattern, see how that works. If I've got too much management on one day, unless it's the leadership and management SIG, it's the strand, but if it's too much management on one day, leave something out, put some linguistics, put some EAP, put something more kinesthetic, get into some young learners. Now, okay, young learners might not be your cup of tea, not a problem. But in order to do that, you need strategic planning, because otherwise you end up being carried away and either having too much coffee, talking to too many people, trying to get your photo taken and your face on Facebook, and you end up not getting the knowledge in. Also, it's very important for teachers to leave the conference with some ready ideas that they can test as soon as they go home. That's, for me, that's very important. If we snooze, we lose. The longer it takes for me to apply an idea from trainer to practice and own it so that I can put it in my own tool case, the more likely it is that it's not going to happen, and I'm going to forget about it. So yes, the pre-conference has a lot to do with the actual successful attendance. Having said that, one more thing, it's not written on iron planks. I may have said that I want to go from point A to point B. I might be locked out. I might be late. I may need to have a second choice, or I may have to have options, let's say, so that I can be flexible. One of the beauties of the face to face conference is that we can go to sessions with friends and then we can chat about them. So why miss on that? I mean, it's not like we are, soldiers marching from one room to the other. So yeah, the pre-program is
Yeah.
essential, and the actual program is essential.
Ayman, you said you were about to come in.
Yeah, I just want to add that, and this is based on my own experience. The first time I attended the IATEFL conference, I did not do my homework. So I tried to access the program on day one of the conference, and I was really overwhelmed. So my advice to those who are attending the conference for the first time is to do their homework, maybe at least a week before the conference, go through the program because it can be overwhelming, and then decide on the sessions that you want to attend. So this would be my advice to first timers, especially.
Absolutely. And I think one advantage of downloading the digital program is most people will probably be flying into Belfast. So you've got something to read on the plane and work through on the plane with it. I completely agree. I think I've been in both your situations. I've not done my homework before, and I think I got a bit giddy as a younger teacher. The first time I went to IATEFL, I got a bit giddy, and I actually started looking through for all the kind of like the more famous people, and I was going to all those sessions and forgetting that I'd probably see those at local conferences, and that while it's always good to see those people speak, don't get me wrong, there's you can end up following that track and miss lots. And I agree with Maria. I think obviously I'm a learning technologist, so I tended to go to a lot of learning technology sessions, and I really ended up missing lots of good and sessions sessions that would balance me and give me new ideas. So I think that's really great advice. But the starting point is download the program. You've got 1 week to download that program and get it studied. We should introduce a test when you get your badge. Have you read the program?
You would be the one to create a quiz night on that, I'm sure.
No. I'm just thinking we can build in a Kahoot or something into the next live stream to check where people are with it. So download the program. Bear in mind, so I think both Maria's and Ayman's advice is really practical, but from an absolute practical point of view, make sure you've got access to the digital program in some way, and you will get a paper program at conference. But it's those of you who are conference veterans, it is a different kind of program. So be prepared for that.
You'll be prepared to take home something that's significantly lighter than before, a different size. We've tried to make it, more environmentally sustainable for a start, something lighter to carry around with you, but including and keeping all the integral parts that people appreciate. It really has got the paper program, everything except the specific abstract of sessions. So you think, that looks interesting. Then you can quickly jump onto the digital version and just look in more detail at the abstract for a particular session. Hopefully everybody will enjoy getting that.
And just one more thing I want to come back on Maria's advice. When you're planning the sessions, do look at where they are. We cannot underestimate how big these conference venues are. I think most of us are used to going to a local or even a national conference, but this if you've never been to IATEFL before, you will not have been to a conference venue the size of the ones that we use at IATEFL. And although there are breaks in the program, sometimes it means going from like the third floor of the conference center down to the first floor and around here and there for it. The one thing you will do, and I'm sure this will come up later on, is you will walk miles at conference. So do plan where you are going to, your talks are going to be, and allow yourself to do that. John, there's somebody in the Facebook has asked about Wi-Fi. Is there Wi-Fi at conference?
Yes, there is.
Absolutely.
It is indeed. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that'll be available to everybody.
Yeah, I thought so. There usually is, but I just thought people should know. Yeah, so you'll have no issue accessing that the digital program in venue as well.
And I think that's a really interesting thing, because where in the past perhaps we've tried to have conference apps and have people just talking to each other digitally online within the conference venue, naturally the conference spills out onto social media and people sort of take shots of sessions and share their thoughts, and we've embraced that. I think for the last couple of conferences, really. So if you are at conference, or you're not there and want to get a flavour, perhaps you're thinking of coming to Harrogate next year, then following us on social media over the 4 days of the conference, you'll really get a flavour, not just from IATEFL, but also from delegates there about the kinds of sessions, the kinds of topics that people are discussing, what are those key debates that people are having at this large-scale event.
Thank you, John. Just for you three, I'm going to move, jump a question, just see where we are with this. I'm going to jump to meeting people at conference from it. So how to meet people at the conference and effective networking at conference. And we'll come back to the conference highlights if there's time. So how do you meet people at conference? You turn up at conference on your own. There are thousands of people there. I mean, it should be relatively easy. Just there are so many people there. How do we meet people, and how do we do some effective networking? Ayman, can I start with you this time?
Yes, sure. Actually, a lot of people don't think that this process could start well before the conference, and this is the importance of the conference program. So, doing the homework beforehand lets you decide who you want to meet, depending on your interest, so on and so forth. So, I would just make a note about the people who are presenting and the common interest that you have with them, and deciding on attending those presentations and perhaps chatting with them afterwards. That's one way to meet people at conference. Another way is to attend social events as well as other events that are happening. One example is the IATEFL Associates Day, for example, is a way to meet people and not network with them. There are many other ways as well, and I'm sure Maria will advise us on that. But I just want to comment and give a personal experience about meeting people at conferences, especially IATEFL. I have met a few colleagues, and we have developed collaborations, effective collaborations. One of them is a joint co-editing of a book, actually on teacher associations. Another colleague that I met at IATEFL back in 2010, who happened to be the former president of IATEFL, Harry Kucher. We are now collaborating on many projects, including work with Africa ELTA. So it's really valuable to network with colleagues because that helps us with our career advancement.
Perfect. You mentioned there the social events, which, if I'm right, is there. So obviously, as we talked about in other live streams. So the conference isn't just here's a plenary, here are the workshops, here and there. There is a full social program around conference, and you can see on the screen now, hopefully, different events that are coming up. During conference where you can network with people and meet people perhaps on a more informal basis with it. I know, for example, there was a discussion on Facebook this weekend about the quiz. So if you're not in a quiz team but you like quizzes and you want to meet people, just turn up, because people just will make teams or organically make teams. Don't feel that just because it's your first time or if you've never done that before, just turning up. I mean, we all know that teachers are the friendliest bunch of people in the world anyway. So if you just turn up and say, I want to be in a team, or I've got a story to share, or I want to do this, you will find people very receptive to that. Maria, is there anything you want to add?
Indeed. Okay, my own experience goes quite a while back. My first Harrogate session, my first Harrogate IATEFL, I had no idea how small Harrogate is. So the first night I had to eat, because at some point food is necessary, guys. When attending IATEFL, food is necessary. Sandwiches can take you half the day. They can take you through some days, but not the entire conference. That comes from a person that has actually forgotten to eat for the whole week. So I wanted to go someplace to eat, but being on my own and not having made any plans and sitting on my own and eating, I didn't feel very comfortable. So I asked my landlord, and he suggested a place which was both vegan and vegetarian, because I was fasting at the time. And when I entered, there was a sea of IATEFL red bags and badges, and everybody was like, "Join us! Remember, we were in this together." So, first of all, sessions at IATEFL are planned in a way that is meant to bring people together. If the experience of some delegates is of more academic, formal, university based conferences where speakers have 10 minutes to speak and they present research data and then they go home, this is different. I have had very important, very high ranking trainers join a session in the middle, not finding a chair and sitting on the floor. We are at TEFL and we forget who we are. We just represent an ideal and an ideology, the ideology of teachers joining forces together. So it's very easy to meet people if we want to meet people. It's a very boring experience if we miss out on that. If we are prepared to share, the sessions are all planned around what's your experience, how do you deal with that in your setting, how do you deal with that in your country. So international, local, personal works very well as a way of thinking around this. So people get to meet during the sessions. Then if it's a first time experience, the best way to decide on a sig, if you haven't joined apart from the obligatory free sig, if you're looking for a second sig or you would like to change next year, the best thing to do is to go through all the sigs that are of interest to you, attend sessions and get to meet the board, get to meet the people, perhaps join in some of the events so that you can see what is closest to your own interests and what makes sense for you.
You say that, Maria, but that's a slippery slope. You end up going to an open. You go to a SIG showcase day, and then you end up volunteering,
Yes.
and then you realise 10 years later you've been a volunteer in
I haven't regretted being a volunteer, so I'm just telling my nice experience.
No, I'm talking about my own experience. One of the else. Well, of course, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for volunteering. John, you wanted to come.
I was going to add in two very quick things. The first of all was with reference to the social program we saw there quickly, and one of the key events. If you are a first-time delegate, you'll see there on the Tuesday, the first day of the conference, at the first break, so you won't miss any sessions. If you go to the exhibition, to the IATEFL stand, that is the place where we encourage all first-time delegates to go. Everybody will be there, and it's just a great opportunity to actually bump into other people who are in exactly the same situation as you, because I think if it's your first time conference, particularly on the scale of the IATEFL conference, it can feel a little bit overwhelming and you can feel quite lonely because it seems that everybody else knows each other and you don't know anybody. This is a great way of doing that, as is the social program. And the only other thing I was going to quickly add is sort of following on of what Maria has said, is with regard to you will find, I think, that you'll find other people who are tending to follow the same kind of route or program as you, who have similar interests to you. And actually, if you notice somebody that's been in 2 or 3 sessions on topics the same as you, then that's a great opportunity to perhaps meet somebody who's working in the same or a similar field to you. And that can be of real interest for you to take forward.
Yeah, I think before we change topic, I think I've got 2 things to add to that. One, you've mentioned, obviously, John, the first time delegates meet up, just to highlight that welcome reception is a networking event as well. True. And the whole aim of that, I think that's one of the things we learned in the online conference last year when we did it online, how to build in networking. So this year we're going to have the welcome reception as a networking event, so there's a chance there. And my piece of advice, and it follows on a little bit from what Maria just said about people in sessions, is make every session you're going to be sat, there's going to be somebody to your left, somebody to your right. So say hello. and somebody in front of you and behind you as well. But so every session you go to, there are people that you can simply say hello to and start a conversation with, if you so wish. For it, obviously, there are some people that probably don't want to do that. That's perfectly fine as well with it. Okay, we have actually. I'm going to go backwards now. So because we've talked about the first time is Meetup, we've talked about the SIG showcases. If you're not sure what I mean by SIG showcases, which is difficult for me to say, clearly, this is if you have a look in the program, you will see that on each day the various SIGs across the conference have chosen a stream of talks, so they all fit into what's called a SIG showcase. So those talks highlight something about the SIG. So if it's a YLT SIG, there's something highlighted, but they're all YL talks, LT SIG, Learning Technology SIG, the Technology, TD, Teacher Development, and so on. So the talks that are highlighted by the SIG for it. So you will find, not only will you find those talks, you'll also find the committees of those SIGs in there. And each of those SIG showcases tends to have an open forum. And the open forum is a space during the day where you can go in and talk to and find out about the SIG. And I think Maria is definitely right. That's a really good place to find out people of a like interest to you with it. As I said, it can be a slippery slope. The second conference I went to the LT SIG open forum. Then I volunteered, and I'm still volunteering. So there is a slippery aspect to that. But it's great to get involved to everybody there. So of the things we've got on there, we've got the first timers meeting, we've got the careers fair, we've got the exhibition, we've got the showcases I've talked about. Is anything we should pick out and highlight from there, ladies and gentlemen? Ayman.
Yeah, I think the careers fair is really important, especially to those who are looking for opportunities to be employed in the field. So many things are happening at the conference besides sessions. So I would advise people who are looking for career opportunities to visit the careers fair. And as I mentioned earlier, I got my job here in Qatar at the first careers fair IATEFL ever held in 2010 in Harrogate. And I'm glad that IATEFL has continued to organize careers fair. So those who are looking for jobs, it's a great opportunity to visit the fair.
Yeah. So again, John, would you like to just say to
I was just going to say one thing.
Is?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think what I've been really excited by as well is to see the development of that careers fair, so that yes, there are job opportunities there, but we've built it much more into also an opportunity for people to think, where am I now, and where would I like to be in 5 years or 10 years, and what direction might I like my career to take? And we provide, or try to provide within the careers fair, an opportunity for you to be able to speak to or listen to practitioners who have specialized in perhaps in research or in ELT management, or have become teacher trainers, or have specialized in perhaps business English, or teaching one-to-one, or teaching online. And I think the careers fair gives a really useful forum for people to be able to consider their future and what direction they'd like it to take. And I was just going to quickly say the careers fair is found right in the heart, right in the center of the exhibition. So it's not only a conference, there's also a major exhibition with dozens of publishers, online course providers, teaching associations, and many others. So going to the exhibition is a great way of seeing what's new. And of course, lots of things have changed, and lots of publications have come out, and lots of developments in the world of ELT. And I know the publishers and the course providers and the exam boards are really excited to have this opportunity to let you know all that's changed, all that's new. It's a great way to have a little break from the academic sessions, get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. They're all offered free of charge within the exhibition. Look to yourself within the careers fair and what direction you might take, but also look at what's changing in our sector and what's available. Sorry, that was a very long talk.
No, it's fine. I would say, so what's come out of that is just bear in mind that on top of the talks there is the exhibition, which again is a vast area to go around, and it's worth your while going around. You can talk to the publishers, you can talk to the authors, to trainers, to different course providers, and get a real interest there. So that's something to factor into your planning, I think, as well. Obviously, people tend to descend there in coffee breaks, but sometimes it's better to go in a quieter moment as well, to have the conversation. And do bear in mind that even though that's the exhibition, there are actually two types of talks going on in there as well. You've got the pop-up talks, which are taking place throughout. They are in the program as well. So you've got these pop-up presentations that are taking place there. And the careers fair does include presentations throughout the day as well with it. So, the presentations aren't just the ones that you see in taking place in this workshop time or this talk time. There are other things going on there. I think if you've never been, you're now getting a scale of what you're about to see next week. A couple of questions, just got a couple of things. So Uma, the registration's only closed last week, so we're still working out how many people are coming, but we'll give that number out, I'm sure, sometime during conference with it. Beatrice, I genuinely don't know who the Pachacucha talks are. That's one of the areas I don't know who's doing them. It's looked after by one.
I believe they're being organised and presented. That's being run by Dorothy Zemak this year, the previous IATEFL plenary speaker. So she's the person to answer that one. I'm sorry. I don't know.
If you're a friend of hers on Facebook, you can find her on there. But I generally don't know, and it'll be much a surprise to me as it will you on the time. We are at half an hour. I'm talking to the three co-presenters here, but I think we'll probably take a couple more. Okay, another 5 minutes.
Sure. If I can quickly just say, with regard to the bookings as well and the number of people, it's a really difficult one at the moment because yes, our online booking has now closed, and the majority of people will have booked online. But if you are still considering or planning to come, you are able to turn up on the day, to register on the day, and attend as well. And so it's very difficult to know at this stage how many people will do that to get our overall figure of delegates, but it'll be in the thousands.
It will be. So let's do the tips. So let's have shorter, snappier answers on tips. Bits of tip. So tips to prepare and things to bring, and then tips during the conference. So the other one is tips during the conference and take homes of the conference. So if we handle tips as one big thing, I'm going to say the obvious one: a comfortable pair of shoes. That's my tip. You are going to walk. My step counter does its 10,000 steps by, I think, first coffee break, usually at conference. So a good pair of shoes. Anybody else want to jump in with a tip? And if you're in the chat box on Facebook or YouTube and you have a tip, now is a good chance to share it with everyone else with it. So tips, Ayman.
Yeah, so for me, coming from a warmer country, so I would, if you are like me, I would bring, like a light jacket with me. And if you don't have an umbrella, maybe you can invest in an umbrella because I heard that it's going to be raining as well. But,
No.
It's summertime. It's summertime this week in the UK.
It never rains.
It's perfectly
fine. I stand corrected.
That's a very good point. I think even if it's warmer in the days for England or for Great Britain, the United Kingdom, it may well feel very cold for you if you're coming from a warmer climate. Absolutely. I've been promised on the BBC weather there's no rain, but that's their fault if they're wrong, not mine.
And we are, as I always say, the United Kingdom is an island, so the weather is very changeable. Maria, do you want to jump in with a tip?
Yes. Okay. Obviously, the obvious things. We need layers. You'll be in a closed conference center the whole day. It's likely that if you come early for the plenary, which I wholeheartedly encourage, if you get an early start, you're going to have a successful day. Later starts to the day end up leaving you with a feeling that you came in the middle of the lesson. So it might be colder in the morning, a bit hotter during lunchtime, and then colder again when you go back to your accommodation. So yes, layers. Secondly, Uma mentioned it already on Facebook. Don't forget electrical adapters if you're not from the
That's a good
UK,
one.
because
Yes.
that's very, very important. And also, do not leave these puppies at home or at the hotel, because hey, there's so much battery in a phone and there are quite a few posts to be happening. Another thing I would like to share is where we take notes. Now, this might depend on why you're taking notes. You might be one of those very nice auditory people who don't need to note anything down. They just note 3 words and they can write an article after that. You might be one who wants to type things, and you may find it easier to type things. My personal experience from attending conferences on my tablet, and I've actually written about that on a blog, is that I ended up spending £50 by the time the session was done, because I kept ordering all the books the speaker mentioned. So I don't think it helped me, because every link and every website and every subscription was like, I want that. And of course, there's no thinking time. You do it instinctively. It seems nice. And I had downloaded books from providers that can, you just download them at the moment. And I was like, okay, that was one expensive session. Perhaps I need a notebook. Now, if you are one of the notebook, if you're a digital immigrant like me and you'd like your notes, make sure that your notebook is not too heavy, but also not too soft. You need the hard surface so that you can take notes. Another thing, because my ex-boss knows that, I tend to carry a lot. I'm like a turtle. I walk around the conference with a huge bag, and then I end up all stiff and I cannot move my neck and I feel horrible. You need a light bag. You need something that you can comfortably carry, so that you don't feel that the whole thing is dragging you down. Another very important thing, the exhibitors are very generous. They give out a lot of things. If you don't want something, don't take it. Don't take things just to take them. It's not sustainable, it's not eco-friendly. But even if you check things out and you see that you don't need them, it's better to discard them before you leave the UK, rather than to take them home and do the discarding later, because that creates additional weight that you will have to carry on the train, on the plane, and if it's Ryanair, probably on the wing of the aeroplane.
You just reminded me in terms of, I'll come to you in a second, Ayman. You just reminded me there as well that one thing you want to carry around and bring with you is a water bottle.
Yes.
Well,
that was on my list.
Oh, sorry, John. It was the
That's all right.
sustainability there. So Ayman and then John.
Yeah, just one last thing to bring, and this ties back to the idea of networking, is business cards. Some people say business cards are obsolete, but I think they are very convenient, especially if you don't have that much time to exchange your social media handle. So it's very
that's a really good idea.
Very practical.
It's practical. It's very practical, especially for networking purposes.
And I would say, while obviously if you've got the cards, physical cards, then bring them with you. But you might, if you are a person that does things technologically, make sure you've set it up or set your business card up as a QR code that you can just swap with people.
Set your business card up as a QR code. That's fancy. I like that.
There you go.
Nice.
Good, quick ways of doing that, so people can. So John's making notes. All right, John, you wanted to come in with?
Well, most of you have come up with my best ideas, so well done. Thank you. I've got comfortable shoes as my first one, which I've learned from painful experience. The water bottle is an important one for me. Just following on from Maria, I'd written down notebook. I'm one of these people personally. I quite like taking my my phone with me and just taking a snapshot of a screen if it's something I want to remember. That can be useful to tie in with your notes. The last one I'm going to say is actually a face mask. With us being post-COVID, whilst there are no COVID restrictions in the United Kingdom at all, we are within the conference ourselves asking people to wear a face mask whilst they're going around the conference. We won't be asking you to eat and drink using a face mask. That's sometimes a bit challenging, or of course to present, but the rest of the time we are asking people to just think about other people, to wear a face mask, and to check with other people before you give them a hug to make sure they're comfortable with that, so that the conference itself is a safe conference, but also that everybody feels more comfortable with that as well.
Thank you. I am going to. That seemed like a good closing point, but I do think the point that Roz has made actually needs to be addressed as well, which is pace yourself. I think that hasn't come up yet, and we've talked a lot about what there is at conference, but there's actually nothing wrong with just actually going to nothing and sitting down and having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever. I think it's very easy to want to do everything. Again, conference day starts at about, I think it's 8:15, isn't it, John, if you go to a how-to session?
It is. Well, not only a how-to session, but we're actually starting each day with a mindfulness session, which people can attend and actually clear their mind to prepare to start the day. So that's at 8:15 every morning.
And then if you went through the whole conference day, the last conference session finishes around 6. Then the first social event in the evening starts at not long after that and finishes at 9 o'clock. So you're looking at these massive amount of days where you're probably going to try and go to 8 to 10, 11 talks throughout the. It's very easy suddenly to get very tired very quickly. So I can't stress enough that that it is okay not to go to a session, and it is okay to find somebody you haven't seen for 2 years because of COVID restrictions, take them for a coffee and sit in the exhibition and have a coffee. I think that's an
absolutely
important piece of it. With it, we now know that Vicky Samwell, by the way, is doing one of the Petra Kitchens. There you go. So one of the people has one of the people has been revealed for it. So we've got a few more days to work out with it there. Finally, so the conference comes to an end. We all get upset about parting or whatever, and for a year, what would be one piece of advice post conference that we would take, and then we'll bring everything together. So the conference ends as a full on 4.5 day spectacular with it. But what would be your takeaway for it? What would you take home from the conference? Obviously, there is the conference selections to look forward to at some point in the future. But I think Marie has told us recycle before you get on the plane. Anything else we need to add as a takeaway? Or have I covered everything?
I think the most important thing is to make sure that we filter what we have heard, who we have met, what we have done, so that we can follow up. It's such a pity to meet somebody and they may tell you, oh, I would like you to do a guest blog. Would you be interested? And then never following this up. And then remembering that next time we're getting ready for an IATEFL conference, or remembering it way too late, months later, and feeling hesitant to reach out and do that. Another thing is writing a little bit about IATEFL. It doesn't matter where we publish it. It might be our own blog. It might be LinkedIn and one of the articles. It might be our own association's newsletter. I know that I'm chair of TESOL Macedonia Thrace Northern Greece. I'd be more than happy if any of our members goes to IATEFL in Belfast. Since I'm not going and I cannot offer any first-hand experience, the best thing would be for us to get a member and host their blog on our website. Write a little bit, because this makes us more aware and more conscious of what we have witnessed. It helps us notice what we have observed, and that makes it all more conscious.
Yeah, the reflective thing. I will. You put a plug in there for your association. From an IATEFL point of view, you could write a bit for the IATEFL blog actually for it as well. And I do think, I don't know if she's found it, but Tanya Paston, the current Voices editor, was looking for people last week. I think that's on the if you go to the IATEFL page or the IATEFL group on Facebook, you will see that she was looking for people to do some reflective writing on that. So yes, by all means do it for your local association, but there is also the IATEFL platform that could be used. Ayman, anything you want to add? Or are we done?
So I just want to emphasize how important it is to follow up with people that you network with at the conference, because based on my own personal experience, that has paid off a lot. Also, back to the idea of the exhibition and publishers. In my personal experience, I have benefited a lot from visiting publishers' booths, and I have used their textbooks in my own teaching as well. So I would just like to emphasize these two areas.
Thank you. John?
I just got three. I agree with that completely. I make them down. take your conference program home with you. I've found that when you're referring back and you think, well, now what was that session? Just having this as your guide so you can go, oh yes, that was my first one. Sharing, I think, is really important. And Maria's talked about that. I remember as a delegate going back to my institution and sharing with other teachers what I picked up, so that you're sharing the knowledge that you've gained. And as Ayman said, the other one was actually following up, not just with connections you've made, but also with speakers. Don't be afraid at the end of a session that was really inspiring, or you have a key question, go and talk to that person. I'm sure they won't mind answering you. If they don't have time at that point, perhaps organize a time to meet up for a quick cup of coffee. It's a great opportunity to ask that question that's playing on your mind, and you're building your network as well. So those were the three things that I'd scribbled down.
And the last word, I think, is, of course, in I think it's common parlance, and I would say rinse and repeat. The conference is over, then we start again. I mean, a week on Friday, Belfast will be over, and we'll be thinking of Harrogate. So
scholarships for Harrogate are already open.
So if you want to get a
There
scholarship,
you go.
So go to the page about scholarships. We'll bring you more information about scholarships in a future IATEFL live, I'm sure, and we'll tell you more about it at a conference next week. But once the one conference is over, the planning for the next one is already on. So it will be, in a matter of time, it will be time to submit for a scholarship, and time to put your proposal in. So they from an administrative point of view, they all come around very quickly, don't they?
Certainly do.
With it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that we have given you some useful information about your trip to Belfast next week and the impending conference. I think Maria, Ayman, and John have given us some particularly sage advice. So hopefully you've made a list of those tips, and we'll look forward to see. Well, three of us. You can see three of us in person next week. Sorry, Maria. And you'll see Maria again in a webinar coming soon. Before I wrap it up,
the July one.
The July webinar. There you go.
The July one.
So if you want to get more of Maria, she'll be introducing the July webinar from membership committee. So I'm going to say thank you very much to those people, and I'm going to drop them out of the feed now, just as I start to wrap up. And I've got one more thing to tell you, and it's really not for those people going to conference, because you will be in Belfast. But if you are not going to Belfast, then the IATEFL live stream will be operating during the conference, and we'll try and bring you an overview of what conference is like. There will be, our plan is in the morning, there will be on the Facebook page, we will be live streaming the plenary talk. So if you are not attending conference, you'll be able to watch the plenary, fingers crossed, on the Facebook page where hopefully you're watching this now. And then throughout the days of the conference, we will be bringing you interviews with delegates, with participants, and again they will go through the Facebook page through the days of the conference. And then at 3 o'clock each conference day, we'll do a live show from the conference where you'll get to see some plenary, some of the plenaries, I'm about to say, where you'll get to interview, some interviews with the speakers live from conference. You will get to see little bits of videos from that we've taken around conference. IATEFL Belfast 2022 is a face-to-face conference, and we're very much looking to bring the ELT community back together. But we wanted to use the IATEFL Live Facebook page to be able to bring you elements of the conference. So I very much look forward to doing the first live broadcast show, which will be at 3 o'clock next Tuesday. Until then, we'll see you in Belfast. Goodbye for now.